Hello, everyone. Welcome to this episode of the Mindful in Minutes podcast. Today is a freeform episode, so no guided meditation today, but it is a personal episode. So I am going to be sharing some changes that I've made over the last 90 days in my life. And I alluded to this at the beginning of the year, that there were some things that I wanted to change. I had a little bit of an aha moment in a way that sort of made me shift gears and look at some of the thoughts I was having, some of the habits I had formed a little bit differently and want to make some changes. And I was tempted to tell you about these changes at the beginning of the year when I was all excited and inspired to do it. But I thought, no, we won't talk about it now. I want to talk about it after I have stuck to it for a while, 90 days or so, a few months, because then I can actually tell you if these changes have made a difference, if how they've rippled out into other areas of my life, what's working, what's not working. So I thought I would just kind of share these things with all of you. So around New Year's, and I'm not necessarily a huge resolutions gal, but I do, you guys know, I do love a good vision board and I do love to use the new year as a time to reflect and take inventory of where my life is at and what I may want to do differently or what I'm envisioning for the future. And to me, that feels different than a resolution. It's more of this intentional introspection and also just kind of vision work, manifestation in a way, but kind of just getting clear. And I don't know if it's because the business owner in me or the Capricorn moon in me, around this time of year, I have to do a lot of end of year type stuff anyways, forms to fill out, spreadsheets to complete, numbers to look at, that type of thing. And so maybe my mind's just kind of already thinking of this reflect kind of piece and prepare for the new year that I start thinking about that in my personal life too. And it's just kind of the energy of the season. And that's what I love to do around New Year's. That's why I love a vision board. I'm really just taking inventory of where my life is at, what I might want to do differently. And this year I just had this moment. I wasn't even doing anything profound. I was driving in my car. I remember exactly where I was because you have those moments where you're just oh my gosh, that's it, right? They call it eureka moments. I think sometimes this is called the shower phenomenon because when people get these inspirational ideas or they feel like they get the answers to things when they're in the shower. And I need to look a little bit more into this because I'm really interested into the actual mechanism. I forget the term for it, but there's an actual term. And basically what happens is when our minds are doing something where they can be somewhat relaxed, they're obviously not asleep, but they're somewhat relaxed and a little bit on autopilot, that's where then we can do some of our problem solving because certain parts of the brain kind of go into default or kind of go not totally offline, but they aren't as active. And so that's why a lot of times you feel like you get struck with inspiration when you are driving your car, taking a shower, just kind of going for a walk or just doing things that are just part of your everyday life where it's it might be kind of I guess a shower is relaxing. I don't know if necessarily driving your car is all that relaxing, but just kind of those mundane things that you do day to day and you get inspired. I want to look a little bit deeper into exactly what's happening in the brain, but I do know this is something that they've studied and I find it to be fascinating. It's totally true for me and for my life. And yeah, so I was driving in the car. I was taking the exit that I always take off of the highway, kind of into my general neighborhood. It has kind of this big curve to it. And I was thinking about, I don't remember what I was thinking about. I think I was thinking about speaking another language, something along those lines, and how it would have been, it'd be so cool if I could do that. And I don't remember exactly what I was thinking about, right? My mind was just wandering. I was driving my car, but it was kind of around oh, it would be so cool if I could do that. But it's so hard for me to learn a language because I'm dyslexic, all of that. And I don't know, it just hit me. It hit me and this went, you better believe this went right onto the vision board, but it hit me. I just said, I want to become the woman that I've always dreamt of being. And what I mean by that is there's a handful of things that I've always dreamt of doing. One of them being learning a new language, being bilingual. And I've always dreamt and been like, in my fantasy life, I just effortlessly can speak 2 languages. And I've always been so kind of envious in a way, but like envious in the way of like also excited for other people that can do it because I just think it's so cool. And it hit me when I was driving that I want to become the woman that I've always dreamt of being. And the first thing that stood out to me was learning a new language. And then I've always told myself, this was like just, I don't know, what hit me while I was driving in the car. And I've always told myself that because I'm dyslexic and because I've tried, I put tried in quotations, like I was forced to study. Like I studied some Spanish in high school because I had to, and then I had to take a language requirement in college. And so I studied a little bit of French then, and it was so hard. I like barely passed, by the hair of my chinny chin chin, I barely passed those classes. And I just told myself that like I couldn't do it, that I have ADHD and I'm dyslexic. And I don't know, that just wasn't in the cards for me, that just wasn't a skill that I was going to be able to acquire. And as I was driving in the car and I was kind of just thinking about how cool it would be, like, oh, wouldn't it be magical if I could speak another language? And I just thought, you know what? I don't want to just think about the woman that I wish I were, or the woman, and all this, as I'm saying this, I'm like self-editing. I'm like, that sounds so negative. And I don't mean it in like a self-loathing kind of way, but I'm like, the only reason that I don't speak another language is because I haven't tried. I haven't tried hard enough. I have tried in quotes. I was forced to. The crux of it, it's a personal episode when I'm just like, just rambling. It's just, speaking out into the void. The only thing stopping me from learning a new language is me. The only thing that was stopping me is me telling myself that I couldn't do it because I'm dyslexic, because, well, it will be so much harder for me because of this. So I can't do it. And I was like, what? Baloney. I thought a word that you guys know other than Gina, who holds the, record for the most explicit filled episode of Mindful Minutes. Gina, Past Lives and Divine. We know her. We love her. I thought, what baloney. I'm holding myself back. And here I am, just, quiet contemplation, meditating, intentional introspection, like helping other people on that journey. And like, I had not connected the dots. And this is me just saying, please don't ever believe anyone if they tell you they have everything all together in their lives and they have the secret to your success or the secret to solving your problems. Do not believe them, because this is just no one has it all together. No one knows everything. So just, I just want to say that right there. I will always be upfront and honest with you. I do not have all of the answers here. I am just walking my path. And as I learn tools on my path, I'm going to pass them along to you. So maybe you can apply them on your path if they resonate with you. But I was like, here I am helping people connect with their truest selves, getting rid of their limiting self-beliefs, turning inward, using meditation as a tool to kind of illuminate these things, these negative thought patterns. And I've been holding myself back from doing something that I've always dreamt of doing that is perfectly within my grasp. I could do it. I just have told myself I can't, and so I'm not. So this opened up a bigger can of worms in my life. And I was just like, it was one of those things that it was just right in front of me. And I was like, why am I just dreaming of being this woman instead of becoming her? And so I decided I was going to become her in some ways. I mean, there's always there's always room for improvement. There'll always be more. But it hit me then. And so the short of it, the first thing I want to talk about is I've started taking French classes. I am going to learn how to speak French. Also, turns out the French teacher that I have is also a Mindful Minutes listener. I don't know if she listens to the freeform episodes. I know she listens to the meditations. It was kind of funny. I'd sent her an email about something, and in my email signature just says like Kelly Smith, host of the Mindful Minutes podcast. And she was like, oh my gosh, I listened to your podcast. It was just really cool. So shout out to my one. I love learning French with you. But I'm taking French classes now because why did I tell myself that I just couldn't do it? And we always have a reason why we can't do this. I'm dyslexic. I don't have the time. I oh, there certainly wouldn't be a class that would fit into my really kind of weird, unique schedule where I have to work around all the kids' activities in preschool and this and that and da-da-da-da-da. There's always a million reasons why you can't do something. And they were just, for me, they were just excuses. And it really just was that I knew it was going to be hard. I had tried before in the past and I failed, and that was hard for me. And I'm going to do it this time. So this opened up a can of worms in my life where I was like, okay, where else in my life have I been wanting to do something, dreaming of doing something, dreaming of being a certain person or having a habit or this or that? Where else am I doing this in my life? And when I say that, I don't know if it's because I'm about to turn 35. So is this too early to go through a midlife crisis? I don't know. I kind of hope I live longer than 70, but you know what? Nothing's guaranteed. So let's just also say maybe this opened up a little bit of a midlife crisis for me. And I welcome my midlife crisis. I honor it. I think that these moments of transition, of change, of looking at things, of being like, what am I doing here? What's happening in my life? How am I holding myself back? What's working? What's not working? When it's like the little crack that then all of a sudden it goes, there's one little crack in something, and then you put a little bit of pressure on it, and then all of a sudden it's all these little cracks kind of come out from that one big crack. That's what this moment driving in my car, taking the exit to my neighborhood was like for me. It was like putting a little bit of pressure on this crack that then sent all these other little cracks and ripples into my life where I was like, where else am I holding myself back and having this negative self-talk? And I'm going to be so honest with you, is there are things that I'm really proud of that came from these cracks, even things of being okay, yes, I am going to take these French classes, which I'm going to dive into a little bit more about what that's been like. But also, it's been hard because I think it's made me feel a little bit uncomfortable. It's felt a little bit like taking the mirror, holding it up to my face, those really big magnifying mirrors that every hotel has for some reason. It's why in every hotel is there an X50 mirror that zooms in closer than a microscope on a microbe? It kind of felt like that. And that makes me feel a little bit uncomfortable, but I honor and respect and hold space for the uncomfortable feeling because that is important too. It's not all the good, the great. It's, changing, shining light on some of these shadowy areas. It doesn't always feel good. It's not always super comfortable. And, there's been some other things too where it's just, I feel like it's made me question a lot of just, I don't know, what am I doing here? What is the purpose? What is, as I'm going to be 35, and I know that's still so young, but I look back on what was happening. A lot happened in my life when I turned 25. And so now in 10 more years, when I turn 45, what am I going to look back on in 35 and, be like, okay, over the last 10 years, what have I done? What haven't I done? What do I hope I'm not still stuck in? And by stuck in, I mean what old patterns that aren't serving me do I hope I've broken out of 10 more years from now? So anyways, it opened up this maybe midlife crisis, which, I welcome with an open heart and open arms. These things are important. Okay. The uncomfortable is important. It teaches you a lot and it shines light on some of those kind of shadowy spots and brings things to the front. So anyways, the 4 things that I have been changing over the last 90 days that is just scratching the surface of sort of this existential crisis that I have found myself in, that I'm also working through and honoring and finding to be very beneficial and very uncomfortable at the same time. I'm learning French. I am tackling my home clutter, which I know you guys knew this one was coming because would it be a Mindful Minutes episode if I don't talk about the clutter in my home? And also a big piece of actually why I knew this was something I wanted to finally tackle was honestly, I was tired of talking about it on the podcast because the things that you talk about the most often are the things that are on your mind. And so when I am constantly bringing up the clutter in my household, this and that, all of that, it's on my mind and I keep thinking about it and thinking about it and thinking about it. I was tired of thinking about it. I want to start doing something about it. Spending less time on social media and trying to reducing my brain rot. And then also just enjoying being a yoga student. Those are the 4 things. And I want to go into each one individually, but the 4 things that I've kind of changed in my life over the last 90 days. So I want to look at each one, tell you what it's been like, what's working, what's not working, what I've learned in that process as we go. Learning French, the one that kicked this whole thing off, the one that started it all, the whole why can't I sort of attitude shift that I had driving in my car. And this has been the theme of the last 90 days for me, which is why can't I? Because it might be hard, because it might take a long time, because I've tried it before, it didn't work. I've always dreamt of doing something like this. So why am I holding myself back? Why am I letting this one thing just remain a dream of mine and feeling like it's never going to happen? That's the question. Why not? Why can't I? So I've started taking French classes. I found a local place. And if anyone is local and you want a recommendation, let me know. I would love to recommend. I'm loving where I'm going. And so for 90 minutes a week, I am taking French classes. And here's some things that have stuck out to me from this process. It's hard. It is very hard. It is. Learning French is hard. I imagine learning any new language is hard. And I love it. It is working a different part of my brain. I'm feeling like I'm doing something that, I had told myself that I'm moving past this limiting self-belief. It gets me out of my house for 90 minutes a week. I am a self-isolating person, and it's just something it's what I do. And as I become a mom, I've become more and more and more self-isolating. I don't know. I think it's kind of walking the line of like, I don't think it's necessarily a problem yet, but I think it's definitely a trend that I bring up with my therapist as to how self-isolating I've become. I've always naturally been a self-isolating person because I enjoy my own company. I'm an introvert. I like to do things that are usually done alone, like meditate, read books, that kind of stuff. And so becoming a mother, which can be an isolating milestone for a lot of people, I've really leaned into it. So it gets me out of the house for 90 minutes every week, which is amazing. It is also helping me to rebuild my confidence. I realized through this process that I have a lot of internalized stuff, a lot of internalized anxiety from when I was struggling in school when I was younger, and just like a classroom setting, that having such a hard time in that setting for pretty much my whole life, this is helping me to rebuild my confidence. When it's a small group, there's like 4 or 5 of us, depending on the week. And, I have to speak out loud. I have to practice my pronunciation. We take turns doing the exercises and things like that. And it's really helping me to rebuild my confidence in that way, in a classroom setting, in sharing my voice in that way, and something that I don't feel comfortable talking about. I love podcasting. I love talking about things that I feel confident that I know at least some stuff about, or things that I've experienced, or things that I've studied, or leading guided meditations, things like that, things I feel comfortable and confident talking about. Teaching teachers, leading trainings, all of that I feel good and comfortable in. I do not feel good and comfortable and confident in the language thing. And so this is helping me rebuild my confidence. It's like this little bit of exposure therapy of like going out there and doing it and being like, okay, I did it and it's okay. Okay, I spoke out loud in French and I got it wrong and it's okay. That has been phenomenal for me. It's working my brain in another way. It is challenging. Also, I am struggling with my time management because I know when I'm learning a new language, I need time to practice. And sometimes I always do my homework, which is good. Again, works my brain in a new way, but I don't practice it as much as I would like. But I'm doing the best I can with what I have, and I respect that for myself. And I feel proud of myself for doing this, and that feels good. It's also helping me to reignite my love of learning, and it's making me more curious and helping me kind of put myself out there. Overall, I would give this one a net positive. I'm loving it. It's great. I am committing to doing this for a minimum of 1 year. A minimum of 1 year. And when I make it a year, I've told myself that I'm just going to start saving now because I'm investing in myself. One of my best friends lives in France. And so I'm going to go give her a little visit. I'm thinking maybe next spring or summer. I'll just start saving now. I will invest in my success and my tenacity. And that will be a little gift to myself. Or if I can't quite make it to France, I'll maybe go to like Quebec or something. So yeah, this one overall net positive. It's good. Yeah, I love it. The one that started it all. So highly recommend that. And I've been doing it I started in January, so I've been doing it for about 90-ish days. And it's really great. It's challenging, but also it's been a really good confidence builder. And I don't usually struggle with confidence. The exception, though, would be like in an academic setting like this, in a place where I feel like it naturally kind of clicks for me. So, and like in a group setting sometimes. So that's been really good, but also challenging. So it feels kind of like that, putting myself out there a little bit. And anyone who's working on confidence at all, think about the area where you want to work on your confidence. And I highly recommend doing a little bit of kind of this exposure therapy, if you will, where you put yourself out there a little bit. And then you see, it's like you need to remind your body and your mind. It's like a nervous system thing, like, oh, I did it and I'm okay. I did it and I'm okay. I did it and I'm okay. And it really, really helps. Just slow and steady wins the race. All right, the second one, having less clutter and less things in my home. I think this has been the hardest one so far. I want you to take a moment to check in with yourself. How have you been feeling? Truly. Chances are, if you're listening to this podcast, that sometimes you feel a little bit stressed or overwhelmed or anxious, and I get it. Staying mentally fit and emotionally resilient is increasingly complex and challenging, especially right now. And you don't have to go at it alone. I recently discovered Ashwamag, and it is the #1 selling natural mood and emotional health support supplement. And it's been formulated by top nutritional psychologists. And Ashwamag combines clinically tested organic ashwagandha, 2 types of magnesium, patented L-theanine, and methylated vitamin B6, all of which help to support a healthy nervous system by targeting the root causes of those anxious feelings and poor mood. And in just 30 days, 84% of users reported better sleep, while 90% saw overall mood improvement after 3 months. And I have been taking it for about a month, and I'm already so happy and loving it. So don't let stress control your life, and try Ashwamag risk-free with an exclusive offer for our listeners only. Use discount code MINDFUL at checkout and get 20% off your first order and free shipping. That's discount code MINDFUL. Go to ashwamag.com now. That's ASHWAMAG.com to start your journey today. Ashwamag is nutrition for a better mood. Terms apply. I also want to tell you about Thrive Market because you know I love it so much. I have been focusing in my household about reducing sugar for myself and also for my kids. And I feel like Thrive Market is the no junk online grocery store. They ban over 1,000 harmful ingredients, which I love, and I want to be mindful of what I'm feeding my family. And they also have the Healthy Swap Scanner. Now, this has been really helpful to me, and it's allowed me to, like, I can scan what we usually have in our household, and then it will instantly recommend healthier swaps. So I've been doing big swaps for some of the sugary snacks. Also, we're trying to like not do dyes in our house, that type of things. So I have swapped out some of our popcorn for lesser evil popcorn. That's the name of it. Also, I have been loving the Partake cookies. If you have not tried Partake cookies, they're like gluten-free. You wouldn't know they're gluten-free because they're so good. And I love to have the lemon ones with a cup of tea. And it's my favorite new thing where I can have my little sweet treat, but I feel better about what I am putting in my body. And also, you know what? It's such a time saver. I have a hard time getting out into the grocery store. I don't always want to bring the kids because like they're kind of crazy, and I have to go through, I read all the labels, all of that. I don't have to do that with Thrive Market. I can just find what I'm looking for there. I can even set it to auto ship so that I'm never running low. Also, I want to call out that they also accept SNAP EBT and offer free memberships for low-income families through their Thrive Gives program. So if you are ready to make the switch, go to thrivemarket.com/mindfulminutes for 30% off your first order plus a free $60 gift. That's THRIVE market.com/mindfulminutes, thrivemarket.com/mindfulminutes. Reducing the clutter. Okay. The tricky one for me. The reason that this has become so tricky, there's a couple of things. One, I am running into some, what should we call it? Neurodivergent resistance. Some neurodivergent resistance to that. Also, I live in a household of 4, and I do seem to be the only one who cares about this one. So that's a little bit tricky. But I want to share a couple of things that I've learned in this process. The first was I came across a TikTok. Now, I no longer use TikTok. We're going to talk about this in the third thing that I changed. I deleted TikTok in January, and I don't have it anymore. And I want to talk about what kind of change that's made in my life. But when I had TikTok, and these are the only times that I really miss it, is like these kind of little like life hack things that would sometimes come across my FYP. I came across this TikTok, and I think actually it was one for like financial health, maybe financial freedom, something like that. But I applied it to my house and my clutter. And she was saying that this mindset swap was such a game changer. And I think she was like a financial coach or something like that. And she tells her clients to say this is when they're about to buy something or do something, and you would say, I deserve this. So I've had a hard day. I deserve to get that thing that's been sitting in my Amazon cart. Or, you know what? I've been working hard this week. I deserve this latte, or I deserve this or that. So she was saying you can keep I deserve this, but change what it is that you deserve. So you can say, in this example, she was saying, instead of saying, it's been a long day, I deserve this, whatever, I deserve to buy another mascara. You say, I deserve to feel financially free. I deserve to not feel overwhelmed by, for me, these are some of the things that I swapped the I deserve this. I deserve to not feel overwhelmed by the amount of stuff in my house. I deserve to feel like I can breathe in my home. I deserve to be able to see my kitchen counter be clear without stuff on it. I deserve to not be overwhelmed by the amount of packages that are piled up by my front door that I haven't gone through or whatever it is. And hearing her say that this mindset swap of like, instead of I deserve this like a thing, it's like I deserve this like a feeling, or I deserve this long-term thing. Like I deserve to not constantly be overwhelmed and overstimulated by my home. This has helped me so much changing this mindset of like, I deserve to love the space that I live in. It's felt really freeing to me. I'm not doing a no-buy year. I don't know, I imagine that, I feel like a lot of people are talking about no-buy years. I'm not doing a no-buy year, but I am doing an intentional buy year. And so I would ask myself, and I don't even feel like I was buying like that much or doing that much, but I would ask myself, do I need it? This is before I buy something. Do I need it? Do I have something that will work? And then asking myself, am I just looking for a rush, or am I filling some other unmet need within myself by buying a thing? Things don't bring joy. I know this. I know this in my heart. Things don't bring joy. I don't even get that much stuff. I feel like a lot of the things, it's like these quick buys, right? Where I'll be like, oh, well, the kids' sensory table could use a new thing to fill it up. So I'll, get this sensory table kit online and have it delivered. And that is great. And like sometimes I do still do that. And also I can just go on Pinterest and be like, oh, DIY sensory bins. And I can find unused rice in my pantry, and they have a bunch of little, doodads, and put them in with the rice, and the kids love it just as much. And so asking myself when it comes to things, I'm going to talk about the decluttering in a moment because that's the hardest part, and I haven't fully completed it yet. I'm going to have to do like probably a 120 day, no, 100, at least 180 day follow up on this one. But in terms of just not bringing more things into my home, asking myself those 3 questions, do I need it? Do I have something that will work already? And am I just looking to fill some kind of a rush? Something that I've learned about the neurodivergent, the ADHD brain, because we do tend to be low on serotonin and dopamine, is we have a tendency to then go and do things that will give us these quick little dopamine hits, chronically picking up our phones, doom scrolling, impulse purchasing things. that impulsivity piece at times can give us that little dopamine rush. So we have a tendency to do that in our brains. So I'm trying to combat that a little bit. And again, the hard part is I'm a household of 4. I'm the only one that really cares about this. So that is making it difficult, but I'm trying my best. And in January, I started doing this thing. So that's how I'm trying to just reduce my overall stuff, period. And you've heard me talk about, it was a couple episodes ago, where something I'm focusing on is trying to give back into my immediate community. So I've been doing this thing where every day, it started in January, and I have lapsed a little bit, but I went through, so during rest time for the kids, I'm still, knock on wood, fortunate enough to have anywhere from 45 to 60 minutes total where Poppy is sleeping and Pork Chop is taking quiet rest time in his room, where everyone just kind of separates, decompresses, does their thing, or Poppy still naps. And I will set my timer for that time. And I was going through one room each day, like decluttering it, like purging it and organizing it. And because I knew I had these, 45 to 60 minutes tops, I had to go through with no emotion, only logic. And I would be like, okay, and I'd have to break it down. So I'd be like, okay, my little entry, I don't even know what to call it, but you walk in from the garage and there's just a little bit of space where it's there's a coat hook and a place where you can hang shoes. It's not even like a mudroom. It's just a little, it's I don't know, the entryway. I'd be like, okay, today it is the entryway. And a few things that I've learned, because I am trying to learn more about my neurodivergent brain, what techniques work best for me so that I can do tasks like this. Because things like this, right? The doom piles, didn't organize, only moved is an acronym, DOOM. It's a doom pile. It's a very common ADHD thing. Didn't organize, only moved. And so you pick up a thing and you don't actually put it where it's supposed to go. You just put it somewhere else, and then you create these piles of the things that you didn't organize. You just only moved them, and now they're in a pile. So a few things that I've learned about this in terms of organizing is I set this timer, and online, I think I was listening to a podcast maybe on this. They said, if you have ADHD and you're trying to organize, you need to imagine that whatever area you're doing, that there is this magic force field, and you can't leave the room. You cannot leave the room for whatever that timer is, 30 minutes, 40, 45 minutes. And as you're organizing things, you're pulling everything out, make them in intentional piles of where they go. Because the problem is, so if I'm cleaning out my entryway and I go, I found 3 markers here. The markers go in the, craft tub downstairs. If I take those 3 markers from the entryway and then I go downstairs to put them in the craft tub, then I go downstairs and I go, oh my gosh, my coffee cup is still sitting here in the morning. Then I pick up my coffee cup and then I go upstairs and now I'm in the kitchen. And then I'm putting the coffee cup in the dishwasher and I go, oh, what are all these dishes doing in the sink? And then I take those dishes and I put those in the dishwasher. And then as I'm closing the dishwasher, then I look and I go, oh my gosh, here's Pork Chop's mittens. He's going to be looking for those later. So I pick those up and then I put them where they belong. And then before you know it, it's been 30 minutes and I spent about 15 seconds of that in the place that I wanted to organize. When someone laid it out for me like that, I was like, I've never felt more seen in my life. So you have to imagine that there are these force fields. You cannot leave that room. You cannot leave that room. And so you take things. So for example, the markers, I'm like, okay, this goes to the basement. I start a basement pile. And then as I find other things, okay, my office is also in the basement. Oh, this goes in my office. That goes in the basement pile. And you do that until you have organized everything in that area that you're organizing. And then you go to the piles one by one. So I go, okay, now I have my basement pile, I have my kitchen pile, I have my bedroom pile. And then you go one by one and you pick up the pile, the basement pile, and you go to the basement and you put those things where they go. You have to put them. You can't just put the pile in the room that it belongs. You put them where they're supposed to go in that place. And then you go back up and then you take the next pile and you put those, in the bedroom, put it where it's supposed to go in the bedroom. And you do that for your different piles. That has been such a game changer for me. And it's allowed me to go through things quickly and with less emotion and to be able to organize. Because then slowly what happens is I'm like, okay, so I'm starting with the entryway, for example. And then I end up putting away a few things in my bedroom too. And I end up putting a few things away in the basement. And every day for a while, I did get derailed. I'll talk about that in a moment. I was doing one room or one area every day in that 45 to 60 minute window. It felt more doable to me to do a little bit every single day. And slowly it felt like, okay, I'm starting to breathe a little bit more. There's a little bit more space. And I did get derailed. When I started to get to, a few things happened. One, as you know, we had the plague in our house for like 5,000 years. And that's just one thing. But then the other piece is I did get derailed when I got to some of the trickier parts of my house where I felt this resistance, my closet, and places where there was a lot of like my husband's stuff, because I'm not just going to, go through his stuff and like chuck it all, right? I need him to be like, okay, here's, these are all of your things. Can you go through this for me? And that's caused some resistance just because we don't have very similar schedules. And like my closet, some of these like higher traffic areas, it feels bigger and overwhelming, and it can't be done in just like necessarily 45 minutes. So I did meet some resistance, but I've been getting back into it. I'm still working on it and working on doing this kind of small chip away. And I like this one. When I say I like it, I like the results. And it's one of these things that I have to remind myself that I am becoming the person that I've dreamt of being. And also this, I deserve it. I deserve to feel like I can breathe in my own space. I deserve to just live with less and not feel overwhelmed. Things don't bring me joy. This is one of the first, when I started meditating, this is one of the like first lessons. Even I went to like live, with Bonte and studying loving kindness meditation, right? Like the monks, the first thing they're like, things don't bring you joy. And we know this. We know that this is true, but we need these reminders. And I feel like this kind of stuff has crept up on me. So that one, I don't find it as enjoyable as learning French. I find it important. This is the one where I think I find the most resistance and frustration, which means I need it the most. It means that is my biggest area of growth. And so I'm still working on that one. I've also had to adjust a little bit. Like when I get to kind of the storage part of our basement, we have like all of the kids' clothes sorted by like size and, season and things like that. And so then I am trying to do like maybe like just one bin of clothes every day. So I can't, when I get to some of those bigger areas, I can't just organize that whole area in 45 minutes. But I'm sticking with it. And you know what? It feels good. And just remember, I deserve this, and anyone trying to organize, and you're neurodivergent, you have that force field up. You cannot leave the space until you've put everything that goes in that space there, and then you go do your piles in the different areas. That's honestly helped me so much. Okay, the third one, spending less time on social media and reducing my brain rot. This one I have found myself really wanting to do since Poppy got a little bit older. So my social media time, my scrolling time, it started to creep up on me during pregnancy, towards the end of it when I could not move. Towards the end of pregnancy period, especially with Poppies, I just had so much, I remember I could hardly walk. My feet were just so inflamed. They hurt so bad. It was brutal. And so, I would just I was prone a lot because I was really pregnant. I was 5,000 years pregnant, and I was just kind of waiting, until Poppy was going to be here. And so I started doing more mindless scrolling, and I'm not giving myself a hard time for this. And then I did more mindless scrolling in those first few months of postpartum, because I was up at all hours of the night. I needed something to do that was quiet, but that would keep me awake while I was nursing or rocking or whatever it was. And it became too much. And I think this is something I want to do its own episode on social media and the brain and what it's doing to our attention spans and things like that. So that's in the works. But I have found, so these are the changes that I made when January came, the actual hard lines that I did. So when we had that 15-minute TikTok quote ban or whatever, when that went into place, I just deleted it and the app, and to me it just doesn't exist anymore. And there are a few moments that I miss it. It's when things when I'm oh, I wonder if anyone has any good ADHD, cleaning hacks or whatever, and then I could go and kind of look for content around that. But I also can find that content elsewhere. For whatever reason, I found TikTok to be the place that I'd really get sucked in. So that's gone. Also, I'm just spending less time on social media, period. And a big change that I made is I've swapped my morning scroll for the same amount of time, but doing something that I find enjoyable and kind of, instead of brain rot, more brain fuel. So what I do is, if I naturally wake up before the kids, which happens sometimes, I don't know, more times than not, I wake up a little bit before them, maybe naturally, anywhere from 15 to 30. Sometimes it's like they sleep in a little bit. Maybe I get like 45 minutes. And instead of just grabbing my phone and scroll or go into my email inbox or whatever it is, where you just get sucked in and then before you know it, you're like, oh, well, the kids are up, so now it's time to start my day. I have this new morning ritual. So I wake up, I do look at my phone to check the time, and if there's any text messages, because I go to bed early, if there's any text messages from friends, I might respond to those maybe if something needs to be responded to in the morning. I go and I make a cup of coffee. I let Mila out. But I try to just not do any phone time in general. And then I have my little stack of books that I'm working with. The first is a book that I picked up this summer when we were taking a vacation in Scotland, and it was a daily Scottish poems book. So it has a poem just for every day. So, I can go to March 10th, and there'll be a poem that is written by a Scottish poet, and I can read it. So I read my poem. And then I kind of sit, think about that. I journal a little bit and I meditate. And then if any time allows, I'll read something for fun. This could be like fairy tales. I also picked up like a Celtic fairy tales book, which has just been fun. Just anything that feels fun, but it has to be a book. It can't be on my phone. And it feels better. The time feels more intentional. I enjoy it more. It feels like this fun, special thing instead of just like scrolling. And I'm like, for what? Once I swapped this out, it was definitely hard at first. But once I made the swap, it felt better to me. And this is not me poo-pooing anyone who scrolls on their phone. This is just me sharing my own, like for me and my well-being. And like, I don't want to do that in the morning. And so when I'm thinking of, becoming this person I've always dreamt of, I don't want to be scrolling in the morning. That's not what I want for myself. So I need to just stop doing it. And I feel like I'm feeding my brain instead of kind of doing the opposite. And it's not overstimulating. And I feel like I'm learning and I'm also like having fun. And yeah, so that's been a huge swap for me. Something I'm thinking about doing too is let me know if you guys are interested in this. Like leave it in the Spotify comments. But I want to do something that we could kind of do together to try to break this like morning scroll habit. The only thing I'm figuring out is like how to do it without getting you guys like on your phones, right? If I did like, I could try to do like an email. I'm trying to figure out the actual logistics of like, how could we do something together, but like not on our phone. So I'm still figuring that out. But if you're interested in this idea, if like you want to do something together to kind of break this morning scroll habit, let me know like in the comments or send me a DM or something. Because it's definitely like cooking in my brain and I'd love to do it. So, yeah. And I just feel like now that I'm spending less time on social media too, I have more time at night. So I don't feel like, where did my night go? I was just scrolling. And I kind of swap that time with something that's either more enjoyable or something I need. It's like I just go to sleep earlier. I do still sometimes scroll a little bit, but I also might read a book or even just like watching some TV. And if I'm going to watch TV at night, I'm not also scrolling on my phone. I'm just doing one thing at a time and it feels better. There are some times that I miss like, TikTok or miss scrolling or whatever, but that only lasts for a moment. And then overall, I just feel better. It's also really helped my anxiety. Because I'm just not constantly being like overstimulated, and it just allows me to have a little more time to do what I find to be like fun and enjoyable instead. And then the final change that I've made is just enjoying being a yoga student again. So I've been thinking for like, even since like the pandemic, where I'm just like, I kind of want to get back into the studio. Like I want to be a yoga student again. But then, I had a hard time with like time and availability. I didn't really have a place that I loved. And there are all these things. And again, I just, in this one big crack of, I'm just telling myself I can't do these things for whatever reason. I put a little pressure. One of the smaller cracks that came in was like, just start going to yoga again. Go try it. Even if you make like one class a month, like that's amazing. Go do that. And I don't make it a ton, but I have started taking classes again. And I've really been enjoying the ones that I do make it to. And for me, it's just about being a student, like moving, engaging in a thing that kind of started all of this. I think sometimes when you start with a passion and you love yoga and then you become a yoga teacher and then you're so into teaching yoga and then it becomes your full-time job and then you start looking at it a little bit differently and you still love it, but also you're looking at it more through like this business lens and this work lens and like, I just want to go and just have fun and take classes. Not to even tell anyone that like I'm a yoga teacher or anything or try to teach it, but just to go and be a student and enjoy. And it's really helped me reconnect to my body, practice on my non-comparison, non-judgment. And again, I have self-isolating tendencies. Get me out of the house, even if I make it once or twice a month. And I also find that I get into my best, like kind of creative flow state when I'm on the mat. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's that same kind of like you're engaged, but the mind is relaxed enough that like you can come up with these ideas. But I've just been loving it, and it's really been helping me connect with my body. My body's changed a lot since I've had kids. I've been doing different. I've been working on like rebuilding more strength and doing less yoga. And there's only so many hours in a day. Again, none of this I like judge myself for. It's just observations that I've been making, but it's just helping me connect with my body and being like, oh, like this feels different, or oh wow, this area is kind of tighter. Like, oh, I can still do a half moon. That's so interesting. And it's just kind of reminding me too, like why I became a yoga teacher and why I love it and what made me want to share this practice with others. It just feels really nourishing to me, and yoga feels like approachable even when it's like winter and I'm not as motivated to move my body, but like yoga always feels really like good and doable to me. So that one I've been loving. That one also like a 10 out of 10. So great. And yeah. Those are my changes that I've been making. Overall, I just wrote a couple of notes here, like overall, what are the big changes or the takeaways? Is that the big changes have been I've been creating more space for learning, which feels really fun. I feel proud of myself for what I'm doing, for making these changes, for doing it, for taking the inventory. And anyone who's going through these transitional times where you feel like you have the one crack you've put a little pressure on and now you have these other cracks, like be proud of yourself for looking at the cracks, because the alternative is like just not looking and being like, oh no, those don't exist. And there's a time and place for that too. Sometimes that's a protection mechanism. But if you're willing to kind of look and analyze them, be proud of yourself for doing that, because it's not easy. Swapping the I deserve this statements has been so helpful, right? Like I deserve this. I deserve to love the place that I live in, or I deserve to, I don't know, learn. I deserve to feel happy. I deserve to feel confident in what I'm saying, those types of things. I spend less time thinking about what I wish I was doing because I'm filling that time actually doing it. And that feels good. It's hard. And this is a big takeaway too. There's definitely an adjustment period. I feel like, then there's other things as I'm making some changes in some areas of my life, that I'm having to make changes in other areas of my life. If I'm adding more time, taking these French classes, that means having to rearrange some other things, doing less time, doing other things, or adjusting my recording schedule or whatever it is. And also too, like for me, there's this narrative that I've told myself that like, it's selfish of me to do things for myself now that I'm a mom. Like, what do people think? Like, are they wondering like, where are her kids? And all of that is like just stuff, my own stuff that I have to work on, but there's definitely an adjustment period. And the big takeaway is that maybe think of something, like if you're listening to this and you think it's interesting or it's made you think, like just contemplate what's something that you've always dreamt of doing, but you've told yourself you couldn't, but you actually could, or you could start doing today. Like, is there something, whether it's learning a new language, or I've always wanted to learn how to paint, or I have always imagined I would be the kind of person that doesn't drink coffee anymore, but drinks matcha. I don't know, whatever it is. Just what's something that you've always dreamt of doing, but you've told yourself you couldn't for some reason, that you actually can, and that you can start doing. And then the last thing I wanted to kind of leave you with is that the things that feel like big changes now will eventually integrate into your new habits. So it might feel hard now, or it might feel like a big change now, but it will become your everyday at some point. And then you can look and see what you want to do next. So when you're thinking about becoming the person you've always dreamt of, it's in the little moments. And Sunday's meditation is a visualization where we're going to imagine and visualize like, our greatest and highest selves. And in that, I want you to look at the small moments, right? So if you imagine yourself, that your highest self, the person you've always dreamt of being, is the kind of person, again, that, you know, she wakes up in the morning and she doesn't drink coffee. She drinks matcha instead. And those are the kind of things that you could start doing. You could just start drinking matcha instead. I'm not saying that there wouldn't be a transition or whatever, but you could do that. And then those things is like one little step forward. Maybe the big change you want to do is you want to find a new career or something like that. But there's going to be small clues of little things you can start doing, little stepping stones to get you to that person that you've been dreaming of, that big thing. And once these changes, you swap your coffee for matcha or whatever it is. No shade to coffee. I love coffee. I'm a coffee drinker. But these little things that you do, right? My most ideal self speaks another language and lives with less things. And so what are little things that I can do to start doing that? And then before I know it, like once I've completed this kind of declutter project that, you know, is going to take me months at this rate, but I'm going to get it done, then that's just going to be my everyday life. Then I'm just going to have a home that has less stuff. And like that feels amazing. That feels great. And then what's another thing? Then what's the next step that then I can do to get to that person I've always dreamt of being? And so know that something might feel hard now. Change is hard. Breaking old habits, building new habits, all of that is hard, but it doesn't mean it's not worth it. And there's steps to becoming that person that you've always dreamt of. So thank you for listening. Maybe put in the comments if you're interested in kind of this no scroll thing, but also tell me something that you've always dreamt of doing that you're going to start doing. I would love to hear that from all of you. And thank you for being here. And I appreciate you.